Hi, I'm Sophia from Migration Matters. We're a nonprofit organization that wants to empower you to have better, more nuanced, and more solutions-oriented conversations about migration. We produce bite-sized courses with academics, practitioners, and the public.
What percentage of all the people in the world do you think are migrants?
We got a lot of different answers on the street that day, and most of them were in the double digits. It's not surprising, given that the words we hear in the media all the time connected to migrants, asylum seekers, and refugees are words like influx, flood, wave, tide, pouring in. So we wanted to know, are we really living in an age of unprecedented migration? So we went to the source to find out. We asked Hein Haas, one of the world's leading thinkers in migration.
Hello. Hi, good to meet you. Hi, good to meet you. My name is Hein Haas and I got interested in migration when I was 17 years old and embarked upon a train journey to Morocco because I was curious. I wanted to see other countries outside of Europe. And once in Morocco, I discovered that so far away from home, there's people speaking Dutch, and they turned out to be migrants who used to live in the Netherlands and came back and spoke fluently Dutch to me, and that really fascinated me, how societies so far away from each other are connected through migration.
He is a founding member and former director of the University of Oxford's International Migration Institute. He's a current professor of sociology at the University of Amsterdam, and he has written a ton on this topic. So let's hear what Hein has to say.
The number of migrants in the world hasn't actually gone up. I mean, absolute numbers have gone up, but the world population also has gone up. Half a century ago, about 3% of the world population was an international migrant. That's still the same percentage. So if we look at the longer term, actually migration hasn't accelerated. Of course, there's more migrants, but there's also more people in the world.
Okay, so there's more people in the world, which means there are more migrants, but there aren't more migrants proportionally. That makes sense, I guess. But we are living in a time of globalization, and people can travel and move more easily than ever before. That's got to be affecting things, right?
All forms of mobility have gone up, like travel, commuting, business travel, tourism obviously have spiked. But actually, migration in terms of people changing residency has been remarkably stable again. Obviously, with growing interconnectivity between societies in the world, people's awareness of other societies will only increase in the future, but it doesn't necessarily translate into more migration.
Okay, hold up a second. If the question isn't about the numbers, then what is it about? We can't ignore that people feel like their societies are changing through immigration and diversity.
I think the more relevant question, instead of asking will there be more or less migrants, is asking where will future migrants come from and go to? And there we've seen things happening over the last 50 years that nobody would have predicted. Nobody would have predicted 50 years ago that Europe would become the global migration destination that currently attracts more people than, for instance, the United States and Canada together. So in the future, migrants may come from and go to very different countries than right now. Take one example, China. Many people think that most Africans who want to leave the continent all go to Europe or all want to go to Europe. Now, first of all, the big majority of Africans move within the continent to prosperous countries. But actually what few people realize is that more and more Africans explore destinations outside of Europe. And China is one of those new destinations. What may also shift in the future is the sources of migrant labor. You know, over the last decade, it's been countries like Mexico, Morocco, Turkey, the Philippines, who sort of played this role of emigration countries and important sources of both labor and family migrants in North America and Europe.
So Hein's talking here about emigration with an E, which means the process of leaving one's home country and settling or living in another. Immigration with an I is the process of entering another country.
Well, those countries are also developing. A country like Turkey, even before the Syrian refugee crisis, had become already a destination for labor and other migrants going to Turkey, and the numbers of Turks leaving Turkey had gone down.
So things are changing and they're hard to plan for. Okay, we get it. But since Hein's head is full of understanding about the trends and causes of migration, we couldn't let him get off that easy. So we asked Hein if there's anything we can be sure about when it comes to the future outlook of migration.
It's almost certain that the future outlook of migration will be totally different from the current one. So the danger is to take a Eurocentric view and think that Europe will always remain the center of the world and the global migration destination, the same for North American countries. Those may well shift in the future.
So we can't predict what's going to happen in the future, but we can make a few assumptions, right? like that people from poorer countries will want to migrate to countries where they have more opportunities. So what can Hein tell us about that?
Actually, the countries that are poorest, for instance, in sub-Saharan Africa, is the region with the lowest migration in the world. Because fewer people have the resources and the opportunities to move around, even within the continent. And certainly when you look at migration out of the continent, it's actually very low. And the African countries with relatively high migration to North America, to Europe, are the relatively stable and relatively prosperous countries. Like, for instance, South Africa, or Senegal, or Ghana. These are the countries that have much higher percentage of the populations living in the West. But of course, once a country and a society becomes more attractive, stable, and wealthy, it will start to attract more migrants.
It makes sense not to be ethnocentric when it comes to topics like migration, but I always wonder how we can get people to think about migration from beyond the personal or the national level and to understand and kind of value these bigger trends around them. If you want to learn more from Hein, I recommend you check out his full course with us, Migration 101. It's free, by the way. Available on YouTube and on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for all the latest videos. Like this video, please share it. Let's get conversations going around this topic, and I will see you in the next video.